Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. And no lie, we got a giant stack of comics to get through, so we'll get to them. But first, let me go ahead and announce this once again. We've been nominated for 3 CBC Awards. So you can go over to cbcawards.org right now if you want to and vote for us. We've been nominated for Best Comic Book Review, we've been nominated for Best Live Stream, and we've been nominated for Hall of Fame. Please go vote for PCP, or hell, just go there and vote for whoever you wish. It's all good. We really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be nominated alongside all of these fantastic finalists in these categories and the other categories. So, also, go vote for some other people. Cliff on Comics, the Immortal Biggie Shack, Stu from Dr. Doom's Fan Club, others. Darth Lopez, is he nominated? Go vote for him. Seriously, but vote for Iman or MJ for Best Hair, because they really deserve it. And from one Best Hair winner to a future Best Hair winner, please nominate those two dudes or vote for them. Anyway, we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week is no surprise to anybody. It's Absolute Martian Manhunter issue number 6. This is the final issue of the first arc of Absolute Martian Manhunter. Now, this was initially set up to be a 6-issue miniseries, and if it ended here, I would not be pleased. But I think if this was the end, I think the ending would be a little bit different, because this really sets up what's to come in the second arc. So we know for sure that this book is at least going to 12 issues, and I am here for it, because this has been one of my favorite books from mainline DC continuity in a long time. And it's hard, I guess it's weird to say it's mainline DC continuity because it's in the Absolute universe, but it's tied in. What I mean is, it's not an Elseworlds, it's not something like that. This is truly plugged in to what's going on in the DC multiverse. Well, hell, I guess they all are. Anyway, all of this to say, this book was definitely, by far, to me, the best book of the week, and it's one of the best books of the year. Dennis Camp has been doing such an amazing job with this book, delivering high concepts. The book is esoteric, the book is mind-boggling, the book is challenging, but the book is also rewarding and fulfilling. I have so much fun with this book, but at the same time, it makes me think. It challenges me to read a little bit beyond just the words, just the images, just the page, into the meaning of everything and everything in between. That sounds weird, but I mean it. This is truly a psychedelic noir, which I absolutely love. This interpretation of Martian Manhunter from Dennis Camp and Javier Rodriguez is very different than the John Jones that we're used to, but at the same time, very true to the core of that character and that concept. Now, I love the idea that this is an ultra-terrestrial, extra-dimensional entity inhabiting the person of John Jones, more so than an actual Martian from Mars taking over. It doesn't matter if he's from Mars, if he's from another dimension or whatever. This book really understands that concept and is able to adapt it into the modern age, into the modern idea space, and really make it work, right? And what we've been dealing with is the idea of the white Martian influence versus the green Martian influence, and it all keeps escalating, and it's all tied into the dark side stuff that's been building throughout DC All In, throughout the Absolute universe, all that stuff, and it all just works so perfectly. What a splendid ending. What a suspicious ending. I'm very curious to see where we're going to go. This book was initially just supposed to be 6 issues, but it's been designated now as at least 12 issues, so there's a little bit more to go, and I'm here for it. Dennis Camp is doing such a hell of a job, and one of the biggest privileges of my YouTube journey has been seeing the career of Dennis Camp blossom. Not just his career, but his talent which is exceptional. I think he's one of the best writers in comics today, and this book proves why. Along with assorted crisis events, hell, even Ultimates, he just keeps getting better and better. So does Javi Rodriguez, who does the art, who does the coloring, amazing layouts, really taking... I mean, he's honestly what really pushes this book into what I would call psychedelic noir. And it's definitely got brilliant page design, composition, and paneling, but it's just so colorful. And even the issues where darkness is a big point of the issue, it's utilized so well. So whether it's color, whether it's darkness, whether it's white or black, it doesn't matter. Javi Rodriguez knows how to deliver this book visually in a way that is so unique, so different, so mesmerizing. This is one of DC's best books in a long time. It reads like a Vertigo book from back in the 90s, but with a little bit more of a 2025 aesthetic. And what I mean by that is meaning Vertigo in the 90s, but evolved. And it works, and it rocks, and it's the pick of the week, and it's going to be one of the top books of the year. Absolute Martian Manhunter, absolutely slaps. So there you go. Then we got Immortal Legend Batman, issue number 1. This is a new one. It's from Kyle Higgins, Matt Groom, Erica Duarso. Is Dan Mora a little bit on here? What did Dan Mora do on this book? I'm very curious now. Let me find. See, Dan Mora was... Yeah, he's one of the artists. Oh, yes, he sure is. I can see that clearly right here at the end. This is actually a really interesting book. It's an Elseworlds tale. It's Batman in a different reality, a different setting. It's from Kyle Higgins, who is, of course, the writer of Radiant Black. He worked on Power Rangers, and he brings a little bit of that Radiant Black Power Rangers aesthetic and element into Batman with Immortal Legend Batman. It's another world where dark matter is utilized by villainous and nefarious forces to take over the galaxy or the world or whatever, right? And Batman is this mythical figure who is using light matter, if that makes sense, right? But it's fun, and it has a great dynamic sense of energy and kinetic charge that literally just leaps off the page. Some really interesting twists on normal concepts, things that we're used to from the Batman universe, like Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, the connection between Batman and Bruce Wayne, the Robins, Two-Face. There is so much working for this book. I really found it enjoyable, different, unique, and absolutely exhilarating. So I thought the book was pretty solid. Then we get Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 11. Why? Because these go to 11. Anyway, Absolute Wonder Woman has been one of my favorite books. It continues to be one of my favorite books. Hayden Sherman, the art, they absolutely rock on the art. It's the panel designs. It's that composition on the page. It's utilizing whatever aesthetic, whatever tone, whatever style is needed for whatever book that Hayden is working on. Hayden is also working on Batman Dark Patterns. And you can tell they're the same artist, but if you really pay attention, each project that Hayden works on, whether it's this, whether it's Batman Dark Patterns, whether it's older work from them like Wasted Space, Thumbs, the artwork always adapts to what the story needs, and that's one of my favorite things about this book. Also, Kelly Thompson is killing it with the character of Diana, of Wonder Woman, right? I mentioned that Absolute Martian Manhunter is very true to the core concept of Martian Manhunter. The same is true with Wonder Woman. The same is mostly true with Superman and Batman. But this version of Diana, no matter how different she is, or how different the events surrounding her life are, she is still truly Diana. She's about truth. She's about justice. She's about love. She's about peace. But at the same time, she'll break a muff stepper's arm or leg if she needs to. Sometimes both. This issue is great. We're continuing that Labyrinth story, and the art really helps contextualize that, and the story does a great job of keeping the character true to those roots, but at the same time introducing new elements, not just to the character, but to the world of Wonder Woman Another solid issue. Then we got Superman issue number 29, the second part of the Legion of Darkseid. And even if you're not reading Superman by Josh Williamson and Dan Mora, which, by the way, you really should because it's just really solid stuff, even if you're not reading this whole arc, this whole run, you can step in and read Superman for the Legion of Darkseid story because it's very much plugged in to the ongoing narrative of DC All In and the DC Absolute stuff and everything leading to this next Darkseid Crisis event or whatever it is. You know me, I'm a sucker for DC Crisis events, so I have been just oozing, shivering, if you will, with anticipation over where we're building these books to. But at the same time, the build is cool, the end game is cool, but what's really cool is just enjoying really great, fun, well put together comics. That's what Superman is. Issue number 29, the Legion of Darkseid is here. That's right. There is a world, a universe out there called the Absolute Universe that is infused with Darkseid energy. And the Legion of that world is a Legion inspired by Darkseid, not a Legion inspired by Superman. And that's what's being dealt with here. So thematically, it works. Artistically, it is absolutely freaking banger. It is such a cool book. So many fun ideas. Such great art. Superman is truly in some of the best hands that he's been in for a very long time. Then we got Justice League Unlimited, issue number 10. Another book with illustrations by Dan Mora. 2 issues out today alone, and it rocks. His work is so amazing on this book. Big, bombastic, boisterous, exciting. This is what I love about superhero comics. And Mark Waid is able to juggle a very extensive cast of Justice League members and make it all work. And this is also very much plugged into DC All In, the Absolute Universe, what's going on with Darkseid, the lead into the next crisis. And I know, then we talk about crisis events. Some people roll their eyes. Oh, I'm so tired of another crisis. We just had one. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, I just had another burrito yesterday. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have a burrito tomorrow. If I like burritos, I'm going to keep eating burritos. And DC crisis events are my favorite burritos of all time. That was a weird analogy. All right, then we got Green Lantern issue number 26, the third part of the Starbreaker Supremacy. This is a crossover between Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps, but it's an earned and a deserved crossover because Jeremy Adams, the writer of Green Lantern, has been meticulously building this up since he started on this character. So we've got this new organization using a gray ring that they're basically out there trying to not just manipulate the emotional spectrum, but they're ending it, right? The emotional spectrum is over. In order to combat this, the Green Lantern Corps, led by Hal Jordan, they have to break through the source wall where all of the emotional spectrum entities and avatars are. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're still around. It ties into some old school stuff. I really appreciate that. Jeremy Adams is able to add additional lore and mythology to the already established lore and mythology of Green Lantern, especially the stuff worked on by Jeff Johns and what came on shortly after. Even some Robert Venditti stuff is being played with here, and if you're a Green Lantern fan, you're going to love it. This issue is solid. I liked it. Art could be a little bit better. Aside from that, it's pretty solid. Then we got Mr. Terrific Year 1, issue number 4. This is probably, to me, the weakest issue of Mr. Terrific Year 1, but it's still a good, solid comic book. I love how this is giving us a Year 1 story for Michael Holt, a.k.a. Mr. Terrific, and in a way that's not so obvious. I like that, but at the same time, it's very much plugged into this ongoing narrative of the build into the next crisis event related to Darkseid. Yeah, I don't need to say it again. This is one of the ingredients of the burrito that I really, really love and could eat almost every day. Who doesn't love burritos? The only thing I love better than burritos is like tacos, crunchy tacos, like hard shell tacos, because I love crunch. Anyway, then we got Robin and Batman Jason Todd issue number 3, the final issue from Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen, and it absolutely rocks. It's awesome. So they've already done one of these Robin and Batman series focusing in on Dick Grayson in his early days as Robin. This one obviously focusing in on Jason Todd. He doesn't think that maybe Batman has the right idea about how to go about his mission, and maybe this guy, the Wraith, does. So he's joined up with the Wraith. How does Batman pull Jason Todd's soul back into the journey along with him, which we know is still going to tragically end in death in the family? But I loved this book. I thought it was a super solid ending. The artwork by Dustin Nguyen is absolutely amazing, and the emotional beats from Jeff Lemire really hit. And I really try hard not to like Jason Todd. I've never liked Jason Todd. Sometimes there are stories that make me really care and give a shit about Jason Todd, and this is one of them. So it's pretty solid. Then we got Peacemaker Presents The Vigilante Eagle Double Feature, issue number 5, the final issue of this ridiculous series that is kind of co-conspired alongside with James Gunn. But the writers are Tim Seeley and Rex Ogle. We got some great artwork from Mitch Gerrits and Rex Ogle. Mitch Gerrits in particular doing the Vigilante story. He thinks that Peacemaker has been taken over by a robot, like an evil robot army. It's not true, because Peacemaker just went on vacation. That's the second story in here. It all ties together. It's very much plugged into the world of the Peacemaker show, which just had its first season, or its first episode, I should say, of season 2 debut last Thursday, which I loved. It rocked. And that orgy scene, too spicy. That being said, this is a fun book if you're not into the crude, rude, really in-your-face obnoxiousness of what Peacemaker is in the DCU. This is not for you. But if you love that show, you're gonna love this comic book. I won't say it's essential reading, but it's solid reading. All right, then we've got Action Comics number 23, a foil facsimile, also a regular edition, maybe a couple other covers. This is reprinting the first appearance of Lex Luthor on nice newsprinty type print, so that's awesome. Super cool. I've actually never read this. I've never read the first appearance of Lex Luthor. I've seen images of him with his balding red hair on a throne and a robe or something. I am very excited to kind of dive into that. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got the Mortal Thor issue number 1, written by Al Ewing with artwork by Pasquale Ferry. The artwork is amazing in this book. I really like Ferry's artwork. I loved it back in the 90s. I loved it in the 2000s. I loved it in the 2010s. And I love it now. He's already done a run on Thor, actually, along with Matt Fraction. It was actually a pretty solid run. But this is written by Al Ewing. Now, we know that Al Ewing's been writing the Immortal Thor. I read the first couple issues of that, fell out of it. Thor died or whatever, but he came back. He's immortal now, a regular dude on Earth with a hammer, like a regular-ass hammer, but he doesn't remember anything about who he is or anything like that. Now, I didn't even read the vast majority of Immortal Thor. Just wasn't vibing with it. Just wasn't really feeling it, right? But Mortal Thor issue number 1 is actually pretty solid. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I wasn't bored. I was intrigued and kind of excited about it. I love the artwork. I liked the story. I thought it was well handled. And it's also viciously, brutally violent in parts. And I kind of dug that as well, because we're in the midst of Horror Fest, y'all. And you know me. I love my brutal violence, especially during Horror Fest. Then we got Doomed 2099 issue number 1. It's just a one-shot. It's written by Frank Thierry with artwork by Delio Diaz and Frank Alpizar. I actually really liked this book. Now, first of all, I love Doom 2099. I really do. I have the entire run, and I've been thinking as I was reading this, I was like, I really need to dust off those Doom 2099s over there in the collection. I have the entire run, and I need to brush those off and reread them. But at the same time, it makes me want to like go through some of them for Marvel in the 90s on Rockin' Robbie Live. In fact, I was thinking I should do all of the initial number 1s for the 2099 books. Spider-Man 2099, Ravage 2099, Doom 2099, Punisher 2099, and then definitely X-Men and Ghost Rider as well. We've already done the Hulk one with the 2099 Unlimited issue number 1. We've already done that. It's available on the channel right now, Marvel in the 90s. But if you want to see that, let me know. That being said, this is the Doom of 2099 that I know and love, coming back into the current present-day Marvel Universe to the Emperor Doom that we know from the One World Under Doom story, and telling him, yo, you need to stop because you're wrecking everything for my future. I liked it. It was cool. It wasn't life-changing or anything like that, but it was interesting, and I loved revisiting Doom 2099 because out of all of the 2099 books, Doom was always my favorite. Then we have Imperial War Black Panther issue number 1. This is the first in a series of one-shots that are tied into Imperial, which has been a really cool reshifting of the cosmic landscape in the Marvel Universe by Jonathan Hickman. The basic premise of the book is this. Somebody has assassinated like the 5 leaders of these 5 galactic empires, right? And whoever's responsible, and we do know who's responsible, but not fully. Well, we do know who's responsible now. However, most of the individuals in the story don't. But it's been framed to seem as if it was the Wakandan space empire that is responsible for this. So this is Black Panther kind of responding to that. It's an okay issue. So far, we have 2 of these Imperial tie-ins today. First of all, neither of them feel essential. The other one is Planet She-Hulk. So these 2 books, neither of them are essential to your understanding of Imperial. You will not miss anything if you skip out on these, because they're $5 one-shots in a week of a bunch of $5 one-shots, especially from Marvel. That being said, this is T'Challa, I don't know, trying to figure out and navigate his way through this, but it feels like it's more set up for the upcoming Black Panther book that they're doing post-Imperial. Same thing with the She-Hulk one. So Black Panther didn't really do much for me. I wasn't really digging it that much, but it was decent and it was okay. She-Hulk, though, I didn't really like it so much. She-Hulk is on Sakaar now, and she tries to solve a murder mystery on there. So once again, not tied into the Imperial event at all. I mean, it is tied in, but it's not essential. If you miss out on this, you're not going to miss out on anything Imperial. This is mostly just setting up the new Planet She-Hulk book. That's what's going on there. Then we got Bring On the Bad Guys. We got 2 of these one-shots. It's a series of one-shots that are all connected in one story. Been there, done that, hoo-hoo, ha-ha. This is Dormammu, though, and this is actually a really solid issue. It's written by Alex Packnadel with artwork by, let's find the title page. I wish they would just put them in the front. Javier Pina. I liked this story. I thought the art was solid. I liked the interpretation of Dormammu. I like how it's set. Like, I think if I remember correctly, it's set mostly in the 20s, and it's about this dude trying to conjure up Dormammu. He's a magician. He's got his own magical society, right? Like Hermetic Order or whatever. And he's trying to play Dormammu. It turns out, slight spoilers, but you already know what's going to happen. Dormammu kind of plays him. Then the backup story really ties it all together with this ongoing thread of the Soul Blade and the Soul Forge, or whatever the hell it's called, Mephisto, and what he's trying to do, Sister Sorrow. And it all leads into Bring On the Bad Guys, Mephisto, issue number 1, which is the finale of this series of one-shots that are tying all together in one narrative. And it was all right. It was satisfying. It was a decent enough conclusion. It was all right. Overall, it doesn't fully work for me, the whole series, but I do like how it all gets tied together here at the end. At least there was a plan. I do like that. The art feels a little bit static and stiff and stagnant here, and other S's that mean boring at times, but Mephisto altogether was just kind of okay. Dormammu was pretty good. It might be one of my favorites out of all of these Bring On the Bad Guys. Then we got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 20. We had some major stuff happen in the last issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. Hell, we've had some major stuff happen in the last few issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, and so it eventually leads us here to issue number 20, which is mostly a talkie issue. So we don't have Marco Cicchetto on the artwork here. We do, in fact, have... Oh, they do their credits at the end. We have David Messina, who does a fine job, especially since most of the issue is Talking Heads. 9-panel grids, Talking Heads, which I think is also kind of like a tribute to the Bendis and Bagley Ultimate Spider-Man run from back in the day. But Harry's back from the dead. Gwen has been revealed to be one of several Mystiques. And Peter Parker's doing his thing. And Mary Jane just wants to know what the hell's going on. So they're really great moments, and the dialogue is really spot on. Plus, there's some bits with Peter's son talking to Uncle Ben. And there's been some major revelations with Peter's son in particular. And one of my favorite moments is when there's a moment where he just lets it all out to Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben looks at him and he's like, I thought you didn't want to talk about it. Really great stuff. It's those moments of true human nature and comedic timing that really work for me for Jonathan Hickman here on Ultimate Spider-Man. But we're nearing the end game, and I really love it. All right, then we got X-Men issue number 21. This is a pretty solid issue of X-Men, honestly. I've been up and down on this series. I think Jed McKay's doing a decent enough job, but it's not completely wowing me. It's not completely pulling me in. But in this one, you got the new upstarts led by Sugarman. I love Sugarman, so it's cool that he's back. Trevor Fitzroy's there. I love that. I love the 90s sensibility of this book. The artwork is pretty freaking solid in this book by Netho Diaz. So I like the artwork. I like the story. Cyclops has been... he's in prison right now for getting in a fist fight with the leader of one. But this continues to build up the story, and there's some really great Juggernaut moments in this book. So X-Men number 21 was actually pretty decent. Death of the Silver Surfer, issue number 3. It's all right. I love Sumit Kumar, but the artwork here in issue number 3 is not up to the level that I expect from him. So it's just kind of okay artistically, and it's less than okay narratively. Like, the story just doesn't super win me over. There's a woman. She's been tasked to kill the Silver Surfer. You find out what this form of energy they're using to cause so much damage is. That's cool. Fantastic Four show up. I love the Fantastic Four, but it comes across as a little cheesy, unwanted, and I don't know. I'm just not vibing with this series. I don't really like it. Then we got The Thing, issue number 4. I think we got one more issue of this, written by Tony Fleece, with artwork by Justin Mason. Justin Mason is a solid enough artist. I don't think this book is the right book for him, but Tony Fleece knows what he's doing with Benjamin Grimm. He's out there trying to help an old friend find his young sister or young niece or some shit like that, and on the way, he comes across a bunch of villains who now all of a sudden are gifted superpowers who are after him because Kingpin and Hammerhead have put a $10 million bounty on Benjamin Grimm. And so you got a lot of cool cameos from classic Marvel villains here trying to take out the ever-loving Blue-Eyed Thing. What a revolting development that is. It's clobbering time. I liked it. I thought it was solid. Then we got Fantastic Four Fanfare, issue number 4, the final of a series of 4-issue one-shots for the Fantastic Four. But what's really cool is that each issue has really brought in somebody who is very much significant in the history of the Fantastic Four, meaning creators, right? In this one, so we've had Dan Slott, Tom DeFalco, Jonathan Hickman. Now here we have J. Michael Straczynski, who did a run on Fantastic Four around the time of Civil War. He does a really solid story where Mole Man finds out he has cancer. Sue gets involved. It was interesting. I liked that. Then we got the second story by Greg Weisman, the creator of the Gargoyles, who's doing the new Gargoyles Fantastic Four crossovers. Marvel's doing one. Dynamite's doing one. Mark Bagley does that story, and it was a nice, fun, light, easy, cool story. And then the final story is written by Daniel. It's Daniel Warren Johnson, and artwork by Tyrell Cannon, and it is basically the Fantastic Four in a bunch of wrestling matches. It's ridiculous, but it's fun, and I enjoyed it. Then we've got Predator, Black, White, and Blood, issue number 2. It's an anthology series, all done in black, white, red, and green, based on the Predator. Joe Kelly does this story that's going to go through all of them. The second part of that story was just kind of okay. I felt very unplugged from it. Couldn't even remember much about what happened in the last issue, but I did enjoy the last issue. But then the second story here was decent because it's the Abominable Snowman versus Predator, and that's pretty freaking cool. And then the final story is all right. The artwork is solid. The stories are decent. It's just kind of okay. Let's jump over to Marvel. My bad. Image. And from Image Comics, we have Universal Monsters, The Invisible Man, issue number 1, from James Tynion and Danny. I loved this issue. Absolutely fantastic. I'm a huge fan of the original Invisible Man movie from Universal Studios, directed by James Whale, starring Claude Rains. Absolutely a fantastic movie. We've covered it here on the channel for a March Madness a couple years ago. Check out that video if you want to. That being said, this was an awesome book. It works as a prequel to the Invisible Man movie from Universal Studios and James Whale, and it works. And it works so splendidly well, especially with the artwork from Danny. Danny is one of my favorite artists. I'm a huge fan of her work. Absolutely solid stuff here. James Tynion knows what he's doing. He knows this story. He knows this character. He knows this iteration of the Invisible Man. So I would highly encourage you, especially if you're a fan of the Universal Classic Monsters, to check out this book. Pretty much all of these Universal Monster books have been super solid. Not Green Lantern, but not Green Lagoon, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Creature from the Green Lagoon. No, Creature from the Black Lagoon, that one was just kind of okay. All of them though, Dracula, Frankenstein, those have been amazing. Invisible Man is right up there with those. This is also a pick of the week contender. One of the best books of the month. Super solid, super eerie, atmospheric, but definitely going into the madness of the Invisible Man even before he becomes invisible. How does he do that though? What is the journey? There you go. Also, it smells amazing. This gets the smell of the week. It smells like chemicals. Chemicals that will remove the pigment from your skin. Chemicals that may even potentially turn you invisible. An invisible man can rule the world. Pardon me. All right, moving on. Then we got Void Rivals here with issue number 22. A solid issue of Void Rivals. Shit really starts hitting the fan. Big battles, everything that's been built up really starts coming to fruition here as we near the end of year 2 of this book. Now, overall, I feel like Void Rivals is the least exciting book right now out of the Energon universe. Obviously, Transformers kicks and slaps, G.I. Joe rocks. Void Rivals has been kind of like up and down, up and down, up and down. It's a little bit inconsistent, but honestly, I think I need to sit down and reread all 22 issues, and I feel like it would probably even out a little bit, but all in all, I still like it. I still think it's solid. Void Rivals out this week. Then we got Geiger issue number 17, a solid issue of Geiger, actually a really solid issue of Geiger, even though we've got we got a different artist here, Eduardo Pensica. Gary Frank does do the final few pages, but man, lots of crazy stuff is happening in the world of Geiger, and the story by Jeff Johns is taking so many twists and turns, some obvious, some not so much, but it keeps me captivated, it keeps me entertained. This is very much an entertaining, superhero-ish book that I really like, and even with a fill-in artist, it works, and it doesn't really miss a beat here in issue number 17, and it sets up some really exciting stuff to come. Then we've got News from the Fallout, issue number 3. Y'all, I'm loving this book, man. Chris Condon, Jeffrey Allen love the artwork. The artwork is what I love about this book so much. The story is solid, it's fine. It's about the military doing like nuclear tests, radioactivity tests. There's a bomb, and it transforms a lot of people into radioactive zombies. Now the military's trying to deal with it. The story is solid, the story is fine. But it is the art. The art is absolutely amazing. It is creepy, it is atmospheric, it is tonally resonant and sound, and mostly through the use of silhouette, which really, really impresses me. Not just mostly through the use of silhouette, but meaning black and white, gray tones, texture, grit, simple lines. Like, what do you really need to tell a story? This book knows what you need to, like Jeffrey Allen Love, I should say, knows what you need to tell a story, and he's able to give us just enough, which results in more. Does that make sense? News from the Fallout is absolutely awesome. Then we got Kaya here with issue number 29. Y'all, we live in a world where a book like Kaya, which I don't think gets too much love, honestly, it deserves more love. This book is one of the best books out there, consistently, issue to issue. Wes Craig is killing it, artistically and through the story, and the story really hits a pitch-perfect moment here where if you've been reading this book and investing your time for 28 issues, now into 29, you will be fully rewarded and your jaw will drop to the floor. The art is spectacular, the story is great, and I love that I live in a world where Kaya has reached issue number 29. Pretty freaking solid stuff. Then we got We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, issue number 5, the penultimate issue of the series. We're only promised one more. This book, to me, could continue. I'm loving it. It might be the best Matthew Rosenberg book I've ever read. I am sold on this book. It's about a dude. He's kind of like a supervillain of sorts. He's got a daughter. He's kind of stolen his daughter away from his also supervillain wife and the mother of the daughter. And he winds up dying, but implanting his consciousness into a robot to protect this young lady. Now the mother is involved again, and it ties all of the different factions of the story together. This was a really great issue. A little bit of a slow down issue, but all a setup for the grand finale with issue number 6, and I am ready for it, y'all. Absolutely ready. Then we got Lost Fantasy issue number 4, written by Kurt Pyers, with artwork by Luca Casalanguida. I really like this book. I love those title pages, but I really love the artwork. I really love the story. This is a story set in a modern day that also has a fantasy undertone. So what if... Ooh, that page was too sexy. What if fantasy shit was real? Like magic and sorcery and werewolves, right? We're dealing with that here, but we're also kind of taking characters, putting them in situations, revealing certain things about the past of this world and how it ties into what's going on in the current story, and it all works. This book is really solid. Kurt Pyers knows how to craft really exciting, independent, superhero-adjacent comics, and Lost Fantasy is no different than anything else he's ever done. Lost Fantasy rocks. I really like it. Then we got The Scorched, issue number 44. It was an alright issue. It's just okay. I'm kind of bored with The Scorched. I'm kind of over it. It's the Team Spawn book. That's cool enough. But I've made it through 44 issues, and I'm finding myself just not really caring about these characters or what's going on or the story. There are elements of it that are decent, but for the most part, it's just not working for me. And honestly, Scorched is on the chopping block, y'all. What do you think about Scorched? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, then let's move over to Dynamite. We got Sonja Reborn, issue number 1. This one is written by Christopher Priest with artwork by Alessandro Miracolo. I had a lot of fun with this book. I really did. We just had Christopher Priest on the channel, and I've been a fan of Priest's work for a very, very long time. And he was talking about this book and other things. We talked about Black Panther. We had a great conversation. If you haven't checked out that conversation I had with Christopher Priest, definitely check it out. I'm so grateful that I was able to sit down and have a chat with him on the show. I've met him in person one time. He was super cool then. He was super cool there. It got me really excited for this book. What is this book about? It's about a woman in the modern day, right? A woman in the modern day who is she's on a mission of vengeance and murder after this woman who her boyfriend cheated on with, right? So she's after this homewrecker, and in the midst of all this, she kind of passes out, and she wakes up. She's in the Hyborian age in Red Sonja's body. So it's a modern woman who wakes up in the past in Red Sonja's body in the midst of an adventure. Really fun. Like, honestly, this book was really fun. The way it was structured was immaculate. The way it was told was near perfection. I had a lot of fun. The art could have been maybe a little bit better. There's some great covers. Art was okay, but the story really sold me. And this has been, to me, one of the most captivating Red Sonja stories I personally have ever read. We got a lot of variant covers, but we got a cosplay cover with our friend Anna Mia. And Mia, I missed her on Dynamite cosplay covers. So since she's back, we got to honor that and give this cosplay cover the cover of the week. We also got Red Sonja versus the Army of Darkness, issue number 5. This is the final issue of the series. It ends in a very satisfactory way. Very cool, solid conclusion. Ash and Red Sonja. He goes back to her time, brings her into the time of Army of Darkness. It all works. It's exciting. It's cool. It's fun. If you're a fan of either Red Sonja or Army of Darkness, this book might be worth checking out. And if you're a fan of both, this book is definitely worth checking out. Then we got the Herculoids issue number 7. I'm loving this book. I used to watch the Herculoids back in the 90s during the Cartoon Network early days, and I fell in love with the Herculoids, Thunder the Barbarian, that old school Fantastic Four show. So many cool Hanna-Barbera properties, and the Herculoids was something that always kind of spoke to me, and I really liked it. But Tom Sniegoski has more of a love for this property than I ever have in my life, and it's shining through in his scripts. The artwork is solid, it's decent, it gets the job done, but it's the story that I really love. He's adding layers of development and intrigue to the world of the Herculoids, and it really comes across. And all the little seeds that he's been planting throughout the course of this entire series all start coming to fruition here and building up into something really exciting. All right, then we got DuckTales, woohoo! Issue number 6. Brandon Montclair's doing a really solid job with this one. In this issue, Huey, Dewey, and Louie go on an adventure with Uncle Scrooge, and they wind up kind of meeting their evil counterparts, which I thought was really clever, very unique, and very fun. DuckTales should be a book that's fun, but also be appropriate for all ages, and that's what's happening here. For some reason, I don't have Stitch in front of me, but I also read Stitch issue number 1. I don't have it in front of me for some reason, but Stitch was great. James III, Connor Ratliff, we had a conversation with them about this book, but it's Stitch. It's cute. The villain, the guy, I don't remember his name, but the evil mad scientist that creates Stitch as a murder alien or whatever, right? He is trying to reform, but at the same time, he wants to rejoin this like villainous group so he can get a dental plan to fix like a bad tooth or something like that. But it was fun. It had a lot of heart. If you got kids that love Lilo and Stitch, definitely check that out. From Dark Horse, we got Masterminds issue number 1. This is the latest book from Zach Kaplan with artwork by Stephen Thompson. I liked this book. So this book is about a game designer, right? He's a dude who loves games. He's had some tragedy in his life, but he loves games, and he develops his own independent game that wins some awards, becomes a big deal, or a little bit of a big deal. He winds up working for a giant game designer, and he feels like kind of just a cog in the machine there. He wants to make a breakout, wants to do something fantastic. There's this secret society called Masterminds because this dude's so clever at putting together puzzles because of how much he loves games, how much time he has spent on games throughout his life because of, post-loss of his mother and no friends and stuff like that. He winds up being accepted to audition for this group, the Masterminds, which is like the Illuminati's Illuminati, if that makes sense. Really cool artwork, really great double-page spreads, and really great panel design all the way through, and just a clever idea and a really interesting, well-paced story. Zach Kaplan knows what he's doing. You can see it there. Then we got Hellboy and the BPRD. The Professor Harvey is Gone. This was a really nice Mike Mignola cover, but the artwork is done by Gypsy Manuta. The artwork is amazing. This is a great one-shot Hellboy story. Just gets in, does the story, gets out. That's kind of how Mike Mignola's Hellboy goes. So if you've never read Hellboy and you just want a cheap, let me try it out and see what it's like, you could read this one, and it's solid. It's a really solid issue. Hellboy goes to investigate why this professor is missing. It has something to do with this ancient relic in another world. It's just a really solid, one-and-done, self-contained Hellboy story that I would highly recommend. Then we have Nemesis Forever, issue number 1. Mark Miller and Matteo Scalera. Art's pretty solid. Maybe not as solid as I would want from Matteo Scalera. I've seen more solid work, but it's got this kind of like frantic, rushed texture and grit to it that I really, really appreciated. But Nemesis, he's back, and he really is now setting his goals very high. He wants to basically destroy the world or bring the world into terror. I had a lot of fun with this book. It's Mark Miller. So you know what a Mark Miller book is, and this is definitely a Mark Miller book. Also, we have Huck, Big Bad World, issue number 4. We know what Mark Miller is. Like, we know his worlds, we know his characters. Huck is probably the most wholesome character Mark Millar has ever created. Seriously, it's like Forrest Gump as a superhero in a way, and it almost elevates my soul reading the character of Huck. And that's not something I usually say about Mark Millar's work, but it works so much here. And this book was so touching, so warm, so wholesome, that, you know, Mark had to, like, drag this character nitty and gritty into his world. Some major shit happens here. Wow, what an issue. Huck, Big Bad World, super solid. Then we got The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, Children of the Night, issue number 3. Y'all, I'm loving this book. I feel like not a lot of people are reading it, not a lot of people are talking about it, but you really should. If you love those classic Universal monsters, this is a more youthful, modern interpretation of them, but it's not reinterpreting Dracula or the Wolfman or anything like that, but it's using those ideas, those tropes, those monster tropes, right? And applying them to today's youth. And Tate Brumbaugh, who is the writer of this book, James Tynion is connected to the book, but this is Tate's book. And lately they've been bringing in the character of Dr. Jekyll and more than Mr. Hyde. Let's just say that. But I love the art. It's clean. It's awesome. The story is always captivating and the character work is splendid. This is one of the most undersung, underappreciated books out there, even more so than Kaya. From IDW, we have TMNT Shredder, issue number 1, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Michelle Pandini. I loved this book. It is set in current TMNT lore and continuity, and Shredder is back. Though he was believed dead, he's a little bit older, but he's still just as badass. Where has he been? What's he been up to? What's his new mission? That you find out here in a excellent, splendid fashion. I used to feel like Dan Waters, I just wanted him on really dark, esoteric, like crazy books that are way apart from the mainstream. But Dan Waters is able to bring his sensibility into the mainstream with books like Nightwing and Batman Dark Patterns. And he's doing it here on Shredder. Shredder absolutely shreds the competition this week. Super solid. All right. Also from IDW, we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, issue number 2. I was nervous about a sequel to this book because I thought the first one was so flawless, and I felt like we didn't really need to go back to this world. It's a world about a serial killer, very Dexter. A lot of people have told me it's very Dexter-like. I've never watched Dexter. It's about this woman who was a serial killer, and in the first issue, she had to deal with all this stuff. She wants to continue to kill, but her main victim in the first volume, his sister, is trying to figure out where he is. And she is led to the town where Sam, our serial killer, lives. By the way, they're also animals, like super cute animals, but don't let that distract you because it still works. And there's also this bit where there are talking animals and non-talking animals, a little bit Narnia at times, but it works. And I loved issue number 1, and I really liked issue number 2. I started reading this one, and I was like, this one's okay, but I feel like it's losing me just a little bit. But by the end of it, when I realized structurally what they were doing and how it ties into issue number 1, girl, you done lost your mind. This is some crazy-ass shit, and I love it. From Mad Cave, we have Red Vector, issue number 1. It's the newest book from D.B. Andre and Tim Daniel, and Chris Evan Ewis on the artwork. I like this. This is just a good, solid, super solid, simple sci-fi tale is what it is, right? So there's this, like, somewhere out in space, there are these two, there's like an empire and there's a rebellion. Sound familiar? They're fighting, they're doing all this stuff, and then a member of the rebellion and a member of the empire wind up going through a portal to our Earth. So imagine if Star Wars just all of a sudden two characters, let's say Luke and Vader, showed up on our Earth through a portal and needing to continue their battle. That's what happens here. Art's clean, story solid, just really solid science fiction. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love this book. This is a better Star Wars book than Star Wars books. So there you go. All right, also from Mad Cave, we have Speed Racer issue number 2, written by David Pepose with artwork by David Tinto. Artwork is great, does a great job of really selling the dynamic action that is necessary in a book about speed racing, but David Pepose is also really doing a fantastic job of selling us on the emotional weight of this story. I loved issue number 1, but just like Captain Planet, issue number 1 to 2, he moves the story quick enough. David Pepose is such a brilliant writer when it comes to pacing issue to issue. He doesn't take too long, doesn't let things sit. He knows what we want, he knows what we need, and he knows what the story deserves, and he gives us some of the best issue number 2s out there. And honestly, I think issue number 2s are usually some of the weakest issues out there, and David keeps just slaying it. But David Tinto has a lot to do with that as well. Speed Racer number 2 was awesome. From Boom Studios, we have Minor Arcana issue number 10. There's a character recently introduced by the name of Bud St. Pierre, and this is his story. This is who he is, his time in jail. It's set back in the late 70s, early 80s. It is a prequel of sorts to where we are, and Jeff Lemire comes back to do some of the artwork. Now, I know that Jeff Lemire's style doesn't work for a lot of people, but it works for me. I think this is super solid. I like this book. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. And issue number 10, no exception. We're going to get an issue number 11. Why? We'll talk about that next month. Then we've got this Boom facsimile. I don't think they do a lot of facsimiles, but this is a Boom facsimile flip book. That's right. It's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers book from season 3 when they became the Ninja Rangers post the movie. That's super cool. I've never read this, and that story is actually written by Fabian Nicieza. So that's cool, but it's a flip book, which is actually VR Troopers issue number 1. I've never read this. I'm glad they did the facsimile because I want to check it out. And finally, let's talk about Benjamin issue number 3 from Oni Press. This is written by Ben H. Winters with art by Leomax. Art is fantastic. Story's good. This is the final issue. How does it wrap up? So Benjamin is a story about a writer who's basically Philip K. Dick, right? And I'm a big Philip K. Dick fan, so I appreciate this book. And he dies, but he's awoken in the modern age, and he's trying to figure out why and how, and it's tied into his previous work. And as I'm reading this book, I'm like, how are we going to end this? And it ends rather abruptly, honestly, in my opinion, but at the same time, it ends in a satisfying way if there's another series. If there's not another series, it's not a whack ending, it's just kind of an abrupt ending. But if there's another series that follows this, it's actually a pretty solid ending. So that's what I read, that's what I thought. Now we're going to go into the 5 You Digs rating scale. So out of 5 possible You Digs, what do I rate these? Benjamin gets a 3. That's a facsimile, we're not going to rate that. Minor Arcana gets a 4. Speed Racer gets a 3.5. Red Vector gets a 3. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring gets a 4. Shredder gets a 4. Christopher Chaos gets a 4.5. Huck gets a 4. Nemesis Forever gets a 3. That's solid. Hellboy and the BPRD gets a 3. Masterminds gets a 3.5. DuckTales gets a 3. The Herculoids gets 3. Red Sonja versus the Army of Darkness gets 2.5, which is still solid. Sonja Reborn gets a 4. Scorched gets 1.5. Lost Fantasy gets 3. We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. This issue gets 3.5. Kaya gets 4.5. News from the Fallout gets 4.5. Geiger gets 3.5. Void Rivals gets 3. The Invisible Man gets a 5. Predator, Black, White, and Blood gets a 2. Fantastic Four Fanfare gets a 2.5. The Thing gets a 2.5. Death of the Silver Surfer gets a 1.5. X-Men gets a 2.5. Ultimate Spider-Man gets a 3.5. Bring on the Bad Guys Mephisto gets a 2.5. Dormammu, though, gets a 3.5. Imperial War Planet She-Hulk gets 2. Imperial War Black Panther gets 2. Where are we at? Doomed 2099 gets 3. Mortal Thor gets 3, or Mortal Thor, I should say, gets 3.5. Action Comics is a facsimile. We're not going to rate that. Peacemaker gets a 3.5. Robin and Batman gets a 4.5. Mr. Terrific gets a 3.5. Green Lantern gets a 3. Justice League Unlimited gets a 3.5. Superman gets a 4, in my opinion. Absolute Wonder Woman gets a 3.5. Immortal Legend Batman gets a 3.5. And Absolute Martian Manhunter gets 5. Ya digs. Perfect score. That's what I read. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been rocking Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!